Back then I listened to Sayok, which is traditional Thai song. I've been listening to this for many years, but once I listened to the real animals, turned out it seems like a horn of the truck or the birds back then roar differently than the present. You have to maintain the 5 precepts. Morality of precepts is the fundamental level of human beings. Upon 5 precepts, you can return to human form. You can be a full human. But if your precepts are blemished, then you can go into the worst realms. At first, it might be difficult to uphold precepts. Therefore, we should uphold our mind. In the Buddhist era, there was one monk. He wants to leave the monkhood because he maintain the precepts because there are so many disciplines and precepts. He couldn't even remember those precepts. And the Buddha said that, can you just uphold only one precept? Only one precept. And he replied, if only one single precept, then you could do it. The Buddha said that, can you uphold the precept by maintaining, being mindful of the mind? The things that can uphold the mind is actually the mindfulness. We don't have to actually uphold the mind or maintain the mind. We just have to be mindful. If the mind is hungry, know so. If it's greedy, know so. If it's deluded, drift away, know so as well. Whatever defilements arises and you become mindful of them, then those defilements couldn't take over your mind, and you wouldn't be able to break the precepts. You break the precept because you have no mindfulness. Therefore, we come to be mindful of the changes of the body and mind. Whatever defilements arises, know so. And then your precepts will be prosper. It will be beyond each items of the precepts. For example, the eye see forms defilement rises, and you be mindful of those defilements. The defilements will follow it. Once the ear sees form, and the nose smells, and tongue tastes, or the body feels, sensing, or the mind make contact with the thoughts. Whatever defilements arises, be mindful of them, and the defilements will follow it, and our mind will be calm and peaceful. So the mindfulness is the one that uphold the mind, that maintain the mind, that guard the mind. So it's not difficult to be mindful more often, as often as when the mindfulness arises, then the automatic precepts will arise as well. So that we come to be aware of our mind. At first, we might see some coarse defilements. For example, aversion arises also. And sometimes to see the medium defilements, for example, and also you can know the subtle defilements such as delusion. Once delusion arises, know so as well. Once you become mindful, then the mind won't be angry, greedy, or deluded, and your precept will be better. And then our minds will not become scattered as well, because the scattering mind arises from the defilements as well. For example, you see beautiful girls, even though you have already have wives, but you want to get that beautiful women, so your mind becomes scattered. If you become aware of that scattering mind, then the the mind won't be scattered anymore. Once the mind is not scattering, the mind will become calm. So if you have the mindfulness, apart from just giving rise to the automatic process, but also give rise to automatic samadhi as well, because the mind isn't scattering, the mind is calm. Once the mind is calm, the mind is relaxed. And you come to practice and you understand that if your mind is scattered, the mind is not happy. So the mind is calm, it gives a lot of happiness. The calmness is the ultimate happiness. The ultimate happiness is actually the Nibbana. Nibbana has the characteristics of peacefulness, of calmness. It was encroached by any defilements. And the peacefulness is the most ultimate calmness, ultimate happiness. And we can develop that calmness to be at higher and higher. At first, it might be momentary calmness according to the samadhi. But if you have absorption level of samadhi, then it will be calmer and calmer. But if you don't get the calmness samadhi, the absorption level of samadhi, just be aware of the scattering mind is defilements. Once mindfulness rises, the defilements falls away, and the mind will become calm and happy. You don't have to train yourself to attain the absorption level of samadhi. The mindfulness can give rise to the samadhi as well. A lot of people, when you come to see me, you see that normally I just stay and all of a sudden the happiness arises. I didn't do nothing. Actually, I have the mindfulness. The mind isn't scattered. Then the rapture will arise. The happiness will arise altogether. And if your mind have enough strength, then the mind will be stable servant without swaying and become with and knows only one single object in relaxing manner, and the mind can attain the absorption level of samadhi. It's not difficult. I have to withdraw this because it's actually difficult as well for those who don't know how to do it. But for those who can achieve it, then it's easy. But it's after your training, be mindful of your mind. Whatever defilements arises, know so, and your precept will be better. But if defilements arises and know so, the mind wouldn't be scattered and mingle with the defilements. For example, lust or greed arises, then the mind won't be encroached by the greed or lust. But if aversion arises, the mind will be struggling, striving. It will become calm. But if delusion arises, scatter that arises, and you have the mindfulness to be aware of them, then the scattering mind will follow. The calm mind will arise. That's the virtue of the mindfulness. It gives us the morality and samadhi. And through the mindfulness, you can practice efficiently. At first, we train the mindfulness to be aware of our own mind. During wisdom level, you can use the mindfulness as well. When your eyes, ears, hear, taste make contact with the world, and there are changes within the mind or within the body, be mindful of them. For example, greed arises, and there are changes for men, especially. There are changes in the body. You could feel it for men, especially for men. And if you have the mindfulness, you see the lust arises, and that's when you observe the mind. Then the lust falls away. The mind becomes calm. But if you could not observe your mind, you can observe the body instead. When the lust arises, there are changes within the body. You feel the changes in the body. You don't have to fix anything, just feel it, just sensing it, and the mind becomes eventually calm. When you become angry, If you have quick mindfulness to be aware of the mind, you see that the angry mind rises. But if you can observe the mind, you can observe the body instead. When aversion arises, there are changes within the body as well. For example, if there is become over hatred, aversion, then there will be blood running through your face. You'll see the changes of the body, some characteristics of the body, and then you'll be able to eventually observe the mind, because the mind and the body are linked together. You start from observing the body, eventually it's observe the mind. If you start with the mind, you can eventually observe the body as well. This is not something difficult. Just be mindful of yourself on and on. This is when you cultivate wisdom. If you have mindfulness to guard the mind, then the morality will arise. If you have the morality, seeing the mind drift away, and also, and the mind will become a stable observer, develop some samadhi. It won't be scattered, it develops some samadhi. And with the sixth sense will make contact with the world, and there are changes within the body and mind, and be mindful of them. That those changes within the body and mind, that's when you're cultivating wisdom. So only one single mindfulness you can attain both morality, samadhi, and wisdom. If you can cultivate them more often, then it'll give rise to liberation, attainment of fruit and path and fruit. If you can cultivate them more often, more and more, the mindfulness will be the most important tool. The Buddha said that there are two dharma that is the most virtuous. The first one is mindfulness. The second one is discernment or sampasanya. The mindfulness is one of the mental factors arising together with the mind. It has the duty of knowing of whatever arises within the body and mind. And the sampasanya or discernment is actually the wisdom. You're not drifting away, you're not overguessing, you become self-aware. If you're drifting away, that you don't have the wisdom, you forget about yourself. So try to become self-aware, and the mind won't be overwhelmed by the delusion. So if you have the wisdom, you won't be taken over by the delusion, because delusion is the defilement that is opposite to the wisdom. And if you're not drift away, you don't have delusion took over you, then you have the wisdom. This wisdom is actually discernment or sampasanya, where the mind wouldn't drift away or lost. So wisdom has the other. It's called amoha or non-delusion. The wisdom has another name, which is non-delusion. Without delusion, with the delusion, there will be no wisdom. Without delusion, the wisdom will rise, will take place. The initial wisdom is when you become self-aware. It's when the mind is with itself, the mind didn't forget about the body or mind. When you don't forget about your body and mind, your mindfulness and samadhi stable observers, that wisdom cultivation will be swiftly happened. It won't be initial wisdom like discernment anymore. When the mindfulness is the one that recognizes phenomena, and the discernment is the one that becomes self-aware, meaning that not overguessing, not drifting away. So if you have these important mental factors, these important dharma factors, that can cultivate wisdom in more subtle ways. But you forget about yourself. You forget about if the body and mind exist, but you forget all of them. You couldn't cultivate the wisdom, because wisdom cultivation is when you learn about oneself, learn about the truth of the body and mind. You have to remember this. To cultivate wisdom is not about knowing a lot of things. The most important wisdom is the vipassana practice, insight practice. It's only second to the outside mundane. Only vipassana panya or insight is when the mind is steady service and develop wisdom and discernment altogether. You don't forget about yourself. Once the mindfulness recognizes any phenomena, then you see that particular phenomena portray its true characteristics. So when you cultivate wisdom or you want to do the vipassana with insight meditation, the very first thing that you have to have is the home base or object of meditation. If the mind just keep wandering away, the mind won't develop the wisdom because the mind is scattered. So you have to have the home base for the mind to reside. When I was young, I was competent at knowing the breath as my home base. Some people competent at knowing the movement of the body as a home base. People have different means. When I was young, I used the breath. And the things that I attain is the samadhi. The mind becomes calm and stable observers. At first, after a few breaths, the mind develops some visions. But I don't follow those visions in light. And the mind becomes stable observer, develops some raptures and happiness. The mind converged. And its go deep down becomes subtle. But you couldn't cultivate wisdom. In matter of fact, if I have a master told me I can extend my practice to do insight meditation because anapanasati or breathing techniques, the ones that can develop both samatha and calmness and insight practices. But when I was young, I couldn't know how to do insight practice. So I do a lot of smart practice. And observe the body collapse and disappear. Sometimes the world disappear, only one singular mind left. I couldn't move on. What a pity. If I have any master to guide me the path, then I can become quicker. So I've been practicing this meditation for about 22 years. Since I was 7 years old till I was 29 years old. But once I met Luangpu Dun, he contemplated on my practice and he taught me to cultivate wisdom through my observation. Not everyone can cultivate wisdom through my observation. A lot of disciples that only few disciples of Luangpu Dun have been taught to observe the mind. Most people are taught to chanting the mantra, reciting the mantra, and contemplating on the body. Only my observation only limited to a few. He taught me to observe my mind because I do a lot of samadhi. Because I observe the body and the body collapsed, gone. I couldn't see the body anymore because it already disappeared. That's why he taught me to observe the mind. But for the rest of us, you still have the body. You can observe them because it's something easy to observe. To observe the mind at first I couldn't know how to. I interfere with the mind. The mind fabricates in different sort of ways. So I fabricated to become still and empty. This was my inclination. I do the mind to become empty. So I submit homework to Luangpu Dun. Luangpu Dun said I was practicing incorrectly because the mind's nature is to think, fabricate, and work, but you make it mind still and empty, not doing anything. So do it again. So he told me that to observe, to see, and to read my own mind. I remember this phrase. And I thought to myself that it's like reading books. When you're reading books, you're not an author. You buy a book from a bookstore and the author written down many things and you just read them. That's your duty. Our duty is not to fabricate the mind likewise. Once the mind is happy, no, so because the mind portrays happiness, if the mind is portrayed suffering, reverse illusions. I just know. I just become an observer. But the mind needs to become a stable observer to be able to see the phenomena. arising and falling away. For example, greed arising, falling away, non-aversion arising, falling away, aversion arising, falling away. The deluded mind arising, falling away, non-deluded mind arising, falling away. Scattering mind arising, falling away, drowsy mind arising, falls away. The bright mind arises, falls away. The vast mind, huge, vast, limitless, boundless mind, like sun and moon. Mind is vast, which is known as it is. That's when we come to observe the mind as it is. And we keep, and I kept on observing the mind, see the mind, let go of the mind also. If the mind don't let go of the mind also as well. This is within the mind observation. And for far is the mindfulness. We can observe the things that we can observe, which is the first four dualities. This is the greed, aversion, greed and non-greed, aversion, non-aversion, delusion, non-delusion minds. We keep on observing them. The mind sets and also, drowsy and also keep on observing them. These are easy parts. Beyond that, it requires strength of samadhi to be able to do that. If the mind become a such level of samadhi, the mind will be with the visions, the moving vision. Nowadays, a lot of people say that they can attain different absorption level of samadhi, but that wasn't true at all. The, attain the absorption level of samadhi, you have to become indifferent. Do not believe in other people words so easily. Nowadays, a lot of arahants. Everyone seems to be arahants. Some cases they only practice Dhamma for a few days, but they become extreme enterers, once returners, non-returners. But they don't actually practice at all. They're just only focusing. They haven't started vipassana or insight meditation yet. But how could they attain anything? Some of the monks just trying to focus on its objects and make it empty still. So you have to train yourself. Train what? Mindfulness. The mindfulness arises from what? The mindfulness arises. You cannot come mindfulness to rise all of a sudden. The mind, because the mindfulness and the mind are not self. All kind of Dhamma is non-self. You cannot command it. All the things arises from its causes, and all mental formations arise from causes as well. Without the causes, then fortunately you cannot command it to happen. Mindfulness is one of the fabrications. The mental formations it rises from the causes as well. The causes of what? The proximate cause of the mindfulness is when the mind can firmly recognize the phenomena. That's when you have the firm recognition. This is Virasanya in Pali. That's when you firmly recognize phenomena. If you get to know the aversion, how the aversion reacts, and once it happens, the mindfulness will kick in. And the mindfulness cannot be commanded to happen as well. The mindfulness arises on its own whenever the mind can recognize the phenomena firmly. Once it happens again, the mindfulness will arise automatically. But how could we allow the mind to firmly recognize the phenomena? We have to see them more often. For example, like your relatives, there are different places you haven't met them for 20 years. You can recognize that. But for other people, you met them every day. Whenever you see them, you recognize them right away. Likewise, whenever, for example, Indonesia people, you see a lot of aversion more often. But once the aversion arises, the mindfulness will rise. Once the mind recognizes the aversion, the aversion will fall away. And the angry mind, non-angry mind will rise. The mind will become stable observers. You keep on training and practicing Dharma and observe the phenomena. For some people, when they meditate and meditate on object while the body moving and no so, they move in natural way. Because we move all the time actually. But this body moves and also do not have a wandering mind, absent mind. Just be aware of the mind and moving. Sometimes the mind goes to thoughts. Whenever the body moves, then they give rise to mindfulness automatically. So by practicing by doing breathing techniques, whenever there's no mindfulness, seeing beautiful, the mind likes it, likes the deep arises. Change in rhythm of the breath. Once it changes, then it gives rise to the mindfulness without intention. Once the mindfulness rises, then the greed will fall away. For those who are angry nature, you can observe the angry mind. Sorry, greedy mind. Use the greedy mind as a home base. For those who are angry nature, use the angry mind as a home base. You can keep on changing. Once angry, also angry again, also again. At first, it might be intensive at first, so that you can be aware of it. But now, if it be only mild irritations, you can be aware of them. For example, if some flies flying around and you become irritated, that's actually aversion. You have to be aware. What if you know so, then you have to push them away. You have to understand what shouldn't happen. You shouldn't let them go around your head. Or you see a crazy dog comes at you, you have to get away, escape from him. You have to use the wisdom. If a lot of people running away from the crazy dogs, then you have to be faster than the last person because the dog will beat the last person. See, if I talk about some funny story, the mind changes as well. That's when your practice Dhamma, the ideal forms, there's some manifestation, and there will be changes within the mind. Sometimes it causes you giggles, and the mind becomes relaxed. You are observing that. If giggles arises no, so you relax no, so try to be aware of these phenomena. It's not difficult. So be mindful of the changes of the phenomena. Because when you're cultivating inside meditation, that you attain the wisdom to personal practice, to be mindful of the changes of the phenomena, then you can attain the vipassana panya with the mindfulness and attach the mind to the object, then it wouldn't give rise to the wisdom because the mind is not stable observers. The mind flows to the object. For example, if you know the abdomen, the mind adhere to the abdomen, there will be no wisdom arising. Because the things that give rise to wisdom is actually the right samadhi, which is step observers. See, everything arises from its cause. That you can firmly recognize the phenomena it gives rises to the mindfulness. If the happy mind rises, the mind will be calm. If your mind stable observers, that's when you have the right samadhi, which is the cosmic cause of the wisdom. So all the Dhamma that is meant within the mental formations arises from its cause, and you cannot command it to happen. When you keep on developing, you're developing from its cause. But you have to let go, you let go from the cause as well. For example, you want to develop the mindfulness, you have to conduct the course of the mindfulness, which is to see the phenomena more often, so the mind can firmly recognize the phenomena and give rise to automatic mindfulness. If you want to make the mind to become calm and get some rest of it, then happiness is the proximate cause of samadhi. So I have to choose the object limitations that make you happy, and know that after limitations with relaxing happy mind. Do not use the greedy mind to become calm or happy, otherwise it won't happen. Use a normal, natural mind, relaxing mind, knowing the comfortable mind, object. After a while, then you become calm because mind, the happiness is the proximate cause of calmness mind. And once you have the mindfulness to be aware of the phenomena more and more, then it gives rise to right samadhi, which is the mind becomes steady observance. So there are different kinds of the mind. If the mind is calm, then when you incline the mind towards the single object consistently, the right samadhi arises from from the mindfulness. To be mindful of the phenomena, and then the right samadhi will arise automatically. For example, if the mind drift away or lost, and if you have the mindfulness to be aware of the drifting away mind, the drifting away mind will fall away, stable observer will rise. You didn't forbid it to happen, it just happened all of a sudden. So each and every one of Dharma has its own giving rise to them. So you have to do it correctly. A lot of people try to make the mind stable observance. That was wrong. And the mind will become stiff and become unwholesome. It's not good mind. The mind is heavy, drowsy, stiff, lazy, or interfering with the mind. These are all unwholesome minds. So if you want to make the mind become stable observer, you have to understand that you have to do a lot of right samadhi so that the right confidence will arrive. So you can meditate on objects, for example, moving and also moving and then also the mind running away from you. You have the mindfulness to know. So stable observers will rise automatically as well. When the right samadhi arises, then whenever you observe the rupa or forms, you can see the characteristics. If the mind is knowing the feelings, then you can see that all feelings are under these characteristics. So when mindfulness recognizes the mental formations or wholesome and unwholesomeness, they are actually under these characteristics. If you are be aware of the mind's arises, the consciousness arises to six sense doors, you start to realize that the mind is impermanent. For those who said that the mind is permanent is actually they're developing the wrong view, because the Buddha said that it's not permanent, and the prana is not forever. It's not a self. So first of all, you have to have intention to observe the five precepts. That's it. For 8 precepts, you can selectively choose for some occasions. For lay people, you do a lot of hard work. If you uphold the 8 precepts, then it might causes some damage to your intestine. But for the monk, that's okay. But for the lay people, you do a lot of work. Sometimes uh, the stomach compressed, relaxed, and working. So 8 precepts is occasional, but for the 5 precepts is is always. For example, if during the during Buddhist occasions like Visakha, Magha, Puja, you can uphold the 8 precepts if you like. Some people said that their house is very limited space, is only one room, and you have to lie beside your wife. You can actually do that. Bipli and Hatapayani actually lying side by side. Bipli turn into becomes Mahakasapa, and his wife become arahant. Most of them are arahant. But if you have enough space in your house, you can uphold the eight precepts as well. But if you just touch them without intention, then that's okay. It doesn't break the precept. Some people tell Kun Meshi that she would like to uphold the eight precepts forever. She aimed for the partner. She didn't want her husband anymore. And Kun Me warned her, and she wouldn't listen. But once the husband come back adultery, then this wife was crying so hard that the husband is actually the evil, the devil. But actually, she's the one that uphold untimely. You don't. She didn't know her status, so you have to observe yourself. You have to uphold the five precepts always. But for eight precepts is for occasionals, not every day. It is not appropriate for lay people. And then you can cultivate the mindfulness. If you might want to break the precepts, then be aware of your mind more often, as often as possible, and then it give rise to automatic reactions and smile. You become aware of your mind more often, then you give rise to automatic wisdom. If your mind becomes standard servers and your mindfulness recognizes any physical or mental parts, and it gives rise to the wisdom to see the three characteristics. And once the morality, samadhi, wisdom become fulfilled, then the vimutti will be completed. Nobody can make or command the mind to liberate. The mind will liberate on its own once the morality, samadhi, and wisdom is fulfilled. Once, in order to achieve that, we employ the mindfulness. One of my masters, which is Luangpu, he said that mindfulness is necessary at all times, at all places. So be mindful of the body and mind, on and on. For example, if we see someone we hated to our guts, you have to be mindful of the minds that become angry, and the person will fall away. You can observe the mind, then you want to punch them. The body moves, and the mindfulness arises. You used to observe the mind, the body movements. Once the body moves, mindfulness arises, the person falls away, and instead of punching them, you take their hands. You can change. So mindfulness is very important thing. You have to train them. Meditate on an object, and you become aware of the body and mind. For example, if you're walking meditation, we don't aim for the time, but we aim for the mindfulness. If the mind drift away, no so. If the mind become neutral, no so. And with the set of sense, when the body moves, no so. With the mind as a set of sense, this is when you cultivate the mindfulness. As soon as the right mindfulness arises, then you rise to rise mind automatically. So if you have the often mindfulness, then the mind gains some strength. The mind becomes steady observers and becomes self-aware without intention. The mind will gain some strength and energy, and to be aware of your own that the mind gains strength. If the mind gains strength, do not just sit still. If the mind is still, then you can help it excite it a little bit by contemplating the five outward gates, the body or the mind. Anything is fine. You can contemplate that they are subject to three characteristics. This is about thinking, not vipassana yet. When you have a lot of strong defilements, you can meditate at all. You can think. You can think of anything to just keep on thinking. But there was one thing. At the end, it needs to all boil down to the three characteristics. You can think of anything else, but eventually it to boils down to the characteristics. If you keep on thinking, you you're angry with that person very much. You want to kill them. You want to pluck their hairs out, or break their legs and bones, and burn them. This is when within your heart, your brains, you want to burn them. They become incinerated, become ashes. But actually, enemies are not real. You can contemplate like this. And the person will change from the mind will change from aversion to neutral. If you have a lot of over hatred or have a lot of lust, you couldn't do any meditation. You can use this trick. For example, you like this beautiful woman, you like her very much, and you can contemplate and think that now this woman is beautiful because she's young. But once she gets older and older, and how was she like? How she's going to look like? Back then you have to think, but nowadays you have some application and software in order to turn young women to old women. Likewise, if you like this man, you can use some application to turn this man into the old man, and you are gonna like this old toad or old the old hag. So you realize that these are impermanent, the young and old, and they can attain the samadhi, the mind becomes calm. That's when the mind is calm. Attain the mind that's calm. So just meditate. When you meditate ordinary, but the mind just kept on thinking, the mind is not calm. You can think, but you have to go down to the three characteristics. That's when you conduct smarter practice, calm and samadhi. But for vipassana practice, you shouldn't think. You have to see. You have to see in the present moment. Do you understand? If you don't understand, you can repeatedly listen to this. This should be enough for today. If you talk like me, it's difficult. The rest of us, you guys are like students. You're from elementary school to the doctorate degrees. The master is really, especially for those who are in front rows, they're very good. And back then, at the back, a lot of people are scattered. And giving talks for everyone is quite difficult. But those who can practice is actually the Buddha. For the disciple, not to that path, not to that path. But the ones when it comes to the Buddha, some people have different spiritual faculties, some strong, some weak, some become noble ones, some worldly people. But whatever, but there's one feeling that arises, everyone will feel the same, that the Buddha taught them individually, that listen to me, the teaching direct to me. But when you talk to your peers, and then the peers said the same thing. But you don't have enough spiritual faculties. But so you have to be patient. You have these spiritual faculties. You have to listen repeatedly and observe yourself. We must not be ignorant all the time. So you have to listen and observe yourself. Like I said, each day and every day, comparison is beginning, Dharma for beginners and for the advanced as well. We not just listen to advanced as well. We listen to the beginning level of the Dharma as well. For example, upholding the fact that if you couldn't do it, if you couldn't do it, then you should talk about the wisdom cultivation. Without precepts, there'll be no samadhi. Without samadhi, there'll be no wisdom. Without wisdom, there'll be no attainment. So you have to uphold the five precepts with intention. Then have the mindfulness, be aware of your mind, guarding your mind. taking care of your mind. Whenever you can take care of your mind, then you can be aware of the body movements, and the mindfulness will become stronger. With a good mindfulness, the moral and samadhi and wisdom will arise. Number one.
เบอร์หนึ่งภาวนายุบหนอพองหนอกำหนดรู้ทุกอา
I
การ
practice
ที่
by
เกิด
observing the abdomen
พอ
rising and
ถึง
falling
จุด
away
หนึ่ง
and
จะให้
citing
รู้
Yudno
ถึง
Bong
การ
No.
สังขาร
And up to one point I was couldn't see the body, so I just reciting Runo,
ไป
Runo,
เรื่
Runo,
อย
and
ๆ จนทุกอย่าง
reciting,
ดับ
know,
วูบ
trying to know
นิ่งสนิท
everything
จิต
just
ทิ้งบ
gone.
ริกรรมทั้ง
It's
หมด
still,
รู้
and
เพีย
my
งว่า
deep
ตัว
thought
เราอยู่
mantra.
ตรงนี้
I just knew
ก็
that
นั่งรู้ ใน
myself
ส
is
ภา
here,
วะ
so I'm
นี้ จน
sitting
คร
and
บ 1
knowing
ชั่ว
this
โมง
phenomena for
เมื่
about
อ
an
นา
hour.
ฬิกาเตือน จึง
Once
ลืม
the
ตา
alarm goes
ป
off,
ฏิบั
then
ติ
I
ถูก ต้อ
open
ง
my
หรือ ติด
eyes.
อยู่ ใน ส
I'm not
ภา
sure
วะ
whether
ลมลุก ฟัก
my practice is correctly or I just live in the non-perception Brahmajaitis, deities. When you practice that, a lot of people said that they attain, that most of people become non-perception Brahmajaitis, but their body is death, and that's not working. So can you show me how you observe your abdomen rising and falling? If you conduct like this, then you develop some samadhi. It's not wrong, but it won't give rise to wisdom because you will only be still and empty. Carry on practicing, but once the mind get out from samadhi, you can observe the body. Body is not us, doesn't belong to us. But it's something impermanent, suffering, and non-self. If you can carry on practicing like this, the mind will converge and gain some calmness. When the mind get out from the calmness, you can observe the body, contemplate on the body that is not us, doesn't belong to us. Then you can carry on practicing. Otherwise, it's just gonna stuck in this loop. You get into samadhi and get out, get in and get out. It's gonna be a loop, not a line. Do you remember when I said when you get out from samadhi, contemplate on the body right away that it's full of impermanence and suffering, non-self. Number 2,
เบอร์ 2 ถือ ศีล 5
uphold the
ทำใน
5
รูปแบบ
precepts and
30-60
do
นา
formal
ที
meditations for
พ
about
ยายาม
half
มี
an
ส
hour
ติ
to
ดู จิต
1
ตั้ง แต่
hour.
ตื่น
Try
จ
to
น
be
ก่อน น
mindful
อ
of
น
the mind
แต่ละ
from
วัน
dusk
เห็น
to
ได้
dawn
ไม่เหมือ
each
น
day.
กัน
To see
ถ้า
differently
จิต
each
ตั้ง
day.
มั่น ดี
If the
จะ
mind
เห็น
becomes
สุข
stable,
ทุ
I
ก
can
ข์
see
ไว
the
ๆ กลาง
happiness,
อก
suffering
เห็น ความ
vibrant
ค
in the
ิด
middle of
ถูก
my
ดู
chest.
บา
And I
ง
can
วัน
see
ดู จิต
thoughts
ไม่ได้ จะ ฟุ้ง
to be
ซ่าน
observed. And
พ
I
อ
can
รู้ ตัว
observe
จะ
the
มา
mind
ระลึก กายแท
scattered.
น
And
พยายาม
I
ดู อ
try to
กุศล
observe
เป็
in
น
my
ไตร
body.
ลักษณ์ แต่
I
จิ
try
ต
to
ยัง ไม่
observe
เป็น
the
กลาง
unwholesomeness as the
ขอ หลวง
characteristics,
พ่อ
but
ชี้
my
แนะ
mind is not
ต่อยอ
neutral.
ด ค่ะ
Can you help me point it out my mistake? And Luangpu said that when the mind becomes scattered, you can do different means. The first one, just know that it becomes scattered with neutral, with neutrality. If you can see that the mind is restless with neutral mind, then the mind will gain strength and become stable and observe this again. But you can do it, then you can observe the body. Like you said, like you did. But it's not just going to observe the body right away. If the mind becomes scattered, just know so. That's the best thing. The important thing is that your mind needs to be neutral. There's different kinds of neutrality. The first one is the neutrality because of the mindfulness or samadhi. The second is because of the samadhi. But the ultimate neutrality is because of the wisdom. You can see the happiness arises and falls away, and the unhappiness arises and falls away repeatedly. And later on, the mind won't be satisfied with the happiness and become neutral. If something arises, won't become satisfied and become neutral. That's a very good neutrality because you become equanimous towards all mental feelings. But to become neutral according to the samadhi is different things, and for the mindfulness, different thing as well. Do not make the mind to become still, stiff like this. Otherwise, become dumb like that. To become self-aware. Number one. Number one. You lift the mind too high. You lift up the mind like that. Barricade the mind up there. Do not go up there. You not push them up. It's no in this plana, not that plana, not that plane. You go up there and stuck in that plane, yeah. Otherwise, you become Brahma deities. Number three.
เบอร์สามการภาวนาสะดุดเนื่องจากภาวะแว
My
ดล้อมในปัจจุบัน
my Dharma
ตอน
practice
นี้
is
กลับมานับหนึ่งใหม่
become
เน้นความ
hiccups
รู้
and
สึกตัว
start
เป็นหลัก
back to square
ยัง
one
มีโทสะเป็น
and
พื้น
I
และ
become
ยังติด
somewhere.
สุข
I
ช่วง
have a
นี้
lot
ภาว
of
นาแบบ
nerves
นี้ได้หรือไม่
stuck
คะ
in happiness and not sure whether I practice like this. Actually, what you practice is very good. This is what you practice. What you should practicing. Number four.
เบอร์สี่นั่งสมาธิทำอานาปานสติ
Do sitting meditation, observing the breath, body breathing,
มี
and
จิตสงบ
get lost in
ได้สติ
thoughts
ก็
and
ก
the
ลับมา
mind
ดู
cloud
ร่างกายหาย
sometimes.
ใจ
When I have
การ
mindfulness, I
เดินจ
become
งกรมจะดูร่าง
observing the
กายที่
breath,
เดิน
body
คิด
breathing.
นำว่า
While
ร่างกาย
walking,
ไม่
I
ใช่
see
ของเรา
body walking,
หลง
and
คิ
I
ด
think that the body
รู้
is
สึก
not
ตัว
us.
ก็กลับมา
Lost
ดูร่างกายเดิ
thoughts,
น
and once
ใน
aware,
ชีวิตป
then
ระจำวัน
observe
ดู
the
การ
body
เคลื่อนไหว
walking. In daily
เริ่ม
life, I
รู้สึก
observe
ตั
the
ว
body movement
มี
to
หลง
become
นาน
self-aware.
เข้า
Lost
ใจว่า
along
ส
the
ติ
time,
เข้า
long period
ฐา
of
น
time.
ป
I
ฏิบั
think
ติอ
that
ยู่ตรง
mindfulness
งด
starts
ดังไหม
to become
คะ
written awareness. I'm not sure whether I should walk in the right way. Actually, you walk in the right way. You do it good. You do it good enough. Carry on with your practice. Number
เบ
5.
อร์ห้าภาวนาด้วยการนั่งสมาธิ
I
วันละ
practice
1
by
ชั่วโม
sitting
ง
meditation for
เดิ
about an
นจ
hour
ง
a
กรม
day.
พร้อมฟัง
And I
YouTube หลวงพ่อ
sit and walk
45 นา
meditation
ที
and listen to the
และ
Dharma
ภา
of
ว
the
นา
Lord
ระห
for
ว่าง
about
วัน
45 minutes and
รู้สึก
meditate
ถึง
during
ควา
the
มคิ
day.
ด จิต
And
ใจ
I can
ที่
be
ไม่
aware
ใช่
of the
ตัวเรา
thoughts
ได
and
้ แต่ยัง
mind
รู้
that
สึก
is not
ว่าร่าง
us,
กา
but
ยเป็
I
นเรา
still
อยู่
feel that the body is
บาง
still
ครั้ง
us.
ภาวนา
And
จะรู้สึก
sometimes I
โล่งใจ
observe,
เย็
I
นที่
practice
กลาง
and
อ
I
ก
become calm
ก็แค่
and
รับรู้ เพราะ
cold
มัน
and
ต้องเสื่อม
cold
ยั
at
งติดเพ่ง
the
อยู่
middle of
ไหม
my
คะ
chest. Not sure whether still I stuck in focusing or not. A little bit. Now you're focusing. Am I stiff? It's very easy to observe when the mind will be stiff and hard. You're not stop doing it yet. See, there's something that is still. That's still. The body breathing is something to be observed. Now you're full in the mind. You want it to be calm. Do not do that. Just being self-aware as normally. Now you started stillness again. Still again. You see that the mind now is unnatural. Good mind is natural mind. The mind is not natural when you fabricate the mind. Number 6.
เบอร์หกพยายามตามรู้ในทุกกิจ
I to
กร
be
รม
trying
ที่
to be
ทำ
to
นั่งสมาธิแบ
observe
บ
all
อา
the
นาปา
activities
น
I
ส
do.
ติ
I do
บ
sit
ริ
in
กรรมพุท
meditation
โธ
using the
นับ
breath
เลข
and
ไปกลับ
counting the
จิต
numbers
ฟุ้งน้อยลงมาก
forward and backwards.
ทำ
The
ส
mind
มาธิ
becomes
มานาน
less
ทำได้
structured.
แค่คณิ
I do a
กา
lot
ส
of
มาธิ
samadhi, but I can only
แต่
do
จะ
moment
พยายาม
samadhi.
ทำต่อไป
But
ตา
I
มแนว
want to
ทา
carry
ง
on practicing
เมื่อ
according
เรา
to
ทำได้
the
แค่ระดับนี้
If I
จะ
can
สัง
only
เกตอย่างไร
achieve the
ว่าที่เราทำนั้นถูก
momentary
ทาง
samadhi, how could I
และ
observe
สา
that
มารถ
it
พัฒ
is
นา
the
ต่อ
right
ไป
path
ได้ตามลำ
and
ดับ
it
ขั้น
makes
ครับ
progress? Actually, only momentary samadhi is enough. It can be used to observe the phenomena from moment to another moment. My happy mind, happy mind, evil mind, good mind, lost mind. Keep on observing them. That's good enough. You practice them well. That's not wrong. Number 7 is good. Very good. Go on.
เบอร์7เห็นจิตที่ยึด
I can see the mind that attached to that goodness. Hold on a sec. Number 6 is now put in the mind to be still again. Do not do that. Otherwise, you become still. The mind is not neutral. You see that? The mind is not natural. You see that? See that? There's something still now. Good mind is the mind that is not fabricated. Just be aware of it. Number 7, carry on.
เห็นจิตที่ยึดติดดี
See the
จน
mind
แน่น
attached
พ
to
อ
the goodness and
ระหว่าง
becomes
วาง
tight
จิ
and
ตไหลไป
bloated.
รวดเร็ว
Do not let the mind
ใช้
drift away
คำบ
from
ริ
the
กรร
flip
มจิต
state.
ก็อึดอัด
Use the mantra,
แต่
mind
ในบาง
becomes
คราว
dense
จิต
and
ก็
tight.
บริกรรมขึ้นเอ
At
ง
times, the mind can
อาศั
chant
ยรู้สึก
reciting
ความเกร
mantra
ง
on
ใจ
its own.
บางที
I
ไหล
can
ไป
be aware of
ต่ำล
the
ง
mind body
แต่พอ
breathing.
ให้สง
Sometimes
บ
it
ลงได้บ้าง
goes
เว
up
ลา
to the
ที่
breath,
ฟุ้งมาก
but it becomes
เข้า
calm.
ใจ
It
ว่าที่
becomes
ทำมา
scattered.
พอจะดู
I
จิตได้
understood
บ้า
that I
ง
can assess
พอ
my
จะ ถึ
mind.
งฐานบ้างแล้
I
ว
must know that
จึงพบควา
my
ม
mind
ต่า
is
งตอน
rooting
ที่
around
จิ
me
ตไหลไป
sometimes.
นอกฐา
I
น
see the difference,
แต่
the
ไม่
mind that
มั่นใจ
drift
ว่า
away
เข้าใจ
from
อ
the
ยู่ตรงไหน
gaze.
คะ
I'm not sure whether that's the right understanding. Yes, absolutely right. The mind is become a state observer. As the mind drift away, so good. Number 8.
เบอร์ 8 ทำในรูปแบบด้วยการเดิ
I
น
do
จง
form
กรม
meditations by walk. Number 7, you just drift away. Number 8.
เบอร์ 8 ทำในรูปแบบด้วยกา
I
ร
do
เดิน
form
จงกรม
meditations
อย่าง
by
น้อย
walk
วันละ
meditation at
30 นา
least
ที สวด
30
มน
minutes
ต์
a
และ
day.
แผ่เมตตาก่อน
They
นอน ระ
chanting
หว่างวัน
sutra
ทำควา
and
มรู้สึก
spread
ตัว
loving
และ
kindness
ตาม
before
ดู
going
ค
to
วาม
bed
คิด
during the day
มี
and
ผ
be
ล
aware of
บ้าง
myself and
ไม่
observe
สามารถ
thoughts
ตามดู
and then
หรือ
drift
รู้
away.
สึก
I
ตัว
can
ได้ตลอด
be aware all
ยั
the
งไม่
time.
แน่ใจว่าการปฏิบัติที่
I'm not
ทำ
sure,
อยู่
I'm
เป็
uncertain
น
whether
การ
my
เพ่ง หรือเป็น
practice
การ
is
รู้
of
สึกตัว
touching
แบบปก
or
ติ
being
คะ
self-aware. It's not normal. It's not self-aware normally yet. It's not normal, natural yet. You see that now you're being lost. You see that you pull in the mind. When you know that you're being lost, when you pull in the mind become condensed and tight. Just being aware of the body. That's your homework. Once the body moves, you know so. Just moving naturally sense that. When the body moves naturally, sense that. Body nodding, sense that. Just know with natural normal mind, otherwise the mind becomes scattered. Being aware of the body movements. Body moves, know so. Sense that. Number 7, you can observe one thing. Number 7, there's only one thing left, which is stillness. Do not guarding it. Because when you're fabricated, you're afraid of the mind becomes scattered, so you try to guard it. You maintain it to be still. You're still doing it. This isn't real. If you could see this, then it's good. People said that he's not good. It's not according. It's not vipassana. But you're stuck in samatha. How could I teach him to cultivate vipassana? So most of the time is about samadhi. If you don't have samadhi, you don't have the right samadhi, then you can cultivate the insight meditation. But if I have to teach you to so that should be enough for today. Today is very humid. I don't have much voices.